Hey guys, Garbo97 again. This time to review of the Warhammer 44 scale high-grade Neural Century Bawoo from the Double Zeta Gundam series. And for colors, we're getting a lot of green for almost the entire thing. Then we're getting darker green with kind of a hint of blue in it for the feet, the torso, and some other minor details like the backpack here, the back of the arms. Then we have the usual gray for the hands, some of the joints, a bit in the legs here, and all sorts of little other details. Then some nice finishing touches with the yellow here. Even these little pieces here on the sides are yellow, which wasn't something I was really expecting with such an old high grade. Also, his antenna on top is also nicely molded in yellow. Then moving on with the stickers, we don't get a lot. In fact, out of all the three, you're only going to use one. So we're not, as you can probably tell, we're not getting a movable mono eye. Instead, we're getting three different poses. The neutral one, or just in the middle, which I used, one looking to the right and one looking to the left. So you pick whichever one you want, and that's where he's gonna look. Now, in total, even though he doesn't come with any other stickers, I think he could have done with a few here and there. Like especially those little missiles here, those would have been it would have been nice if they just gave us the stickers. Also, the really nice crest here, that would have been awesome if we got yellow stickers for that, or a nice pink one for the scope of his gun. But as you can see, other than that, you're not really gonna have to do a lot of painting in order to get this thing to look good. In fact, looks great out of the box, just needs those little extra touches. And something I really wasn't expecting was this giant kanji here, which goes on his front skirt, but this is actually the Glemmy symbol, which should be included with the orange Bawoo, but it's cool if they gave it with this guy anyways, just in case you might want to use it or you want to give Glemmy a green Bawoo, but it's cool that they gave us. It is the same price as the orange one, as Glemmy's one, so it's cool they gave us this. Now moving on to articulation, head goes up, down, rotates about that far, and then he gets stuck in that giant collar, but that's plenty. Then arms will rotate all the way around, even though he does have those wings on the back, and go up about that far. We'll rotate around, bend at the elbow, not quite 90 degrees. Then the hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. No waist movement well, I would say at all, but you know, you can kind of nudge him left and right, but that is of course due to the transformation. Front skirts go up about that far. There we go, not too bad. And backwards about that far. And they were molded together, but as I've shown, you can separate them. And the legs go out really nicely like that. And the side cuts themselves, with those missiles, don't move, but these wings will go up so that the legs do have a wider movement range. Then we'll rotate around all the way. It's really nice. Bend at the knee. Two joints for a really, really nice bend. That's really awesome for a kid of this age. And then the feet will go forwards, backwards really nicely, side to side, and we'll rotate around. Then this flap here will go up and down as well. So overall, for a kid of this age, the articulation is actually pretty damn nice. Moving on to the accessories, we're not getting a lot, but what we get is pretty nice. First of all, we have the gun here. Unfortunately, it is quite on the floppy side, but when we put it in, you can kind of sandwich it in between the arm and the hand so that it is stable. So that is definitely good news. So overall, it works really well actually. Just like that. And even though the stock has this downwards movement at the end, it still holds it in a pretty natural way. So overall the gun is really nice. Then we have the shield, which has a movable thingy on here. This is actually on a ball joint, so the shield is quite movable. Unfortunately, this is the only clip we're getting, and unlike some of the other shields, you don't have two options to put on the shield, so it's always going to be on the back of his arm. The good news is you can mount it on both arms, and what's really cool about this is that the arms don't really look like they're made to accommodate a shield. Like on some of the other mobile suits, you will have a very obvious hole in there, which wouldn't be there on a real machine. This one, on the other hand, just looks like it's part of the mobile suit, so that is a really cool thing they did. And then the final accessory we're getting, less cool, but I guess halfway to be expected, a beam saber with, yeah, not even gonna say it. It's always unfortunate, but the good news is it goes into the hands really, really well. The big unfortunate thing about this is the only one we're getting, so we're not getting a normal unused one with a hole in which we could put a normal beam. Now, the real fun thing about this is, usually this is molded in the color of the handle, but this time the beam is actually supposed to be yellow and the handle should be gray just like the hand. So at least you don't have to color the biggest, you don't have to paint the biggest part. And well, I guess yellow is a beam color, so let's just pretend that the handle is yellow and that the beam is yellow too, and that makes this somewhat less depressing. Would have been cool if you got clear beams, but that's what you get with these older kits. All that's left to do now is to transform this guy into the attacker part and the nutter part. It's called that because, you know, that's where the things are, I suppose. Also, we have this thing sticking out. All I've got left to say is, congratulations, it's a boy. But let's transform him. Or one cool thing you can also do, so you have to do this for the transformation, but it also looks pretty nice in mobile suit mode if you want to use these missiles while he's a normal mobile suit. It works just as well and kind of gives you like an airstrike vibe. So you just turn these missiles around. There we go. Even though the manual, damn it, even though the manual tells you to put the wings down, if you put them like this, he gets some extra firepower. And now let's move ahead with the transformation. First, we rip him apart. Come on. Let's see, that was all removed, so there we go. So let's start with the nuts. I mean nutter. These wings go up like that, and this is a very easy to do transformation. You just move the legs out, and then you crunch the toes. And there you go. That's that transformation. I don't know why, but this reminds me of a turtle. Like a turtle head. So that goes over there. And then this. It's slightly more complicated. Just slide that open. Remove the hands. So the really good news is that this guy isn't a parts former at all. And removing those hands really doesn't count. And it's also pretty easy to do, actually. Though, I have to admit, using the manual is kind of handy for this. Now, the one thing I tend to have a problem with is the head, because when you simply push it down, it goes all the way down like that. But according to the manual, you have to put it more like that. Even though it also looks more aerodynamic, and it actually kind of looks better if you put the head down more. But let's just follow the manual on this one. I'm sure the manual knows what it's doing. And this had to be like that, and this should be almost transformed. Alright, there we go. push that back in, put the wings correctly. Unfortunately, this part doesn't really look as aerodynamic as it should. I mean, it would be a lot better if the arms were more like this or something. Now, just gotta put his weapon on there. There we go. And then this connects to the back. Let's see. You have to... Oh, yeah, like that. This collapses in, and then in here we once again have those same grabbing points as on the arm. So simply click that on here. There we go. And now, I guess he can kind of perform like a bomber. If something's beneath him, he can just blast the hell out of it. And there we go. So technically, it should be like this, but then it's kind of like a flying box. I don't know. Even though this is how we should transform, I would recommend putting it somewhat more like this. Definitely makes it look better for my taste. So, in conclusion, the transformation is pretty easy to pull off, very effective, and on top of that, it's not a parts former. And that is always great, even though the transformation is somewhat complicated. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And for 1,200 yen, I can absolutely recommend this thing. This was one of those models I didn't really have any expectations for, and I ended up being completely blown away with what I got for the price. Like I said, for 1,200 yen, we're getting a fully functional transformation, a great looking machine, and it also has that very nice double Zeta Gundam era bulk about it. That was one of the things I was the least expecting. It didn't really strike me as really a bulky machine. It's still streamlined, but it definitely has a certain presence, especially when compared to some of the other double Zetas, like the Zalko 3 here or a Doven Wolf. Even though it might not be really as massive as them, when I put it next to the Zalko 3, which is a really impressive machine, it doesn't really end up looking scrawny or anything. It looks like it perfectly fits in with these guys, and that's what I really like about this machine. Just kind of that attitude it has. It just looks really nice just sitting there on your shelf. So even if you thought that the Bawoo wasn't really something for you, or maybe you thought, well, it's a bit too weird looking, it's definitely, I would say, a great looking machine. Has a really nice presence about it. So if you were kind of on the still on the fence, like, should I get it, shouldn't I get it? Well, I would absolutely say give it a shot. For 1,200 yen, once again, this is a very cheap thing. I could see this perhaps even going for 1,400, 1,500. Even that seems like a fair price. Because, gotta keep in mind, fully functional transformation, no problems whatsoever, and it's still sturdy. It doesn't suffer from any of the problems that sometimes transformable mobiles would suffer from, like you pick up the top half and the bottom half falls off. Like, that's a big problem with my Impulse, the 144 scale high grade. You just can't pick up the top half without dropping the lower half. This guy is as solid as a normal release kit, so that is a big plus for a transforming mobile suit. Really nothing too bad I have to say about it, especially considering the age of this thing. That's also something that kind of surprised me for its age. It's a really good little kit. And to really show off its bulk, let's compare it next to the standard sized Gym Custom. And here you can really see that this is a massive thing. I mean, just comparing it to the standard size here, it's quite a lot bigger, especially with the horn. And maybe it's just that kind of gives it that extra presence, but still very, very cool. Now, finally, let's put it next to the Zeta Gundam, because the transformation does seem to have some things inspired by the Zeta Gundam. Because, hey, in the canon story, some of the engineers who also helped build the Zeta Gundam later defected to Neo Zeon, and you can really see how it kind of influenced the Bawoo, despite the Bawoo splitting in half and the Zeta still being the same thing. You know, you have the cockpit, the head that kind of goes in there, the arms that fold in and then go down, the shield that connects to the bottom. It's all kind of in the same general sense that they transform. So that's all for this review of this fantastic machine. I really underestimated it, ended up being really happy about it, and see you guys next time.